Okay, today we are diving into something that affects all of us every single day. It's like an invisible hook that grabs onto our decisions, and most of the time we don't even know it's there. We're going to see how a single, completely random number can secretly control everything from what you buy to how you think. So, let me just ask you something right off the bat. Do you think a totally random number could have any power to predict your answer to a completely unrelated question? I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, two brilliant psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, came up with a really clever experiment to find out. All right, so here's how they did it. It was pretty simple. They got a wheel of fortune, one of those spinning wheels, but they secretly rigged it. It could only land on two numbers, 10 or 65. So they'd spin the wheel in front of a group of people, have them write down whatever number it landed on, and then they asked them two quick questions. First, is the percentage of African nations in the United Nations higher or lower than the number you just wrote down? And second, okay, what's your best guess of the actual percentage? Now, get ready for this, because the results were absolutely wild. Remember, that number from the wheel was totally meaningless. It had nothing to do with the question. But look at what happened. The people who saw the number 10, their average guess was 25%. And the group that saw the number 65, their average guess shot all the way up to 45%. That random number literally pulled their answers right towards it. So what is going on here? Well, this incredibly powerful effect has a perfect name. It's called the anchoring effect. And let me tell you, it's one of the most solid, most reliable findings in all of psychology. So the anchoring effect is basically this. Whenever you're trying to estimate something, if you think about a specific number before you make your guess, that first number acts like a ship's anchor. It drops down into your mind and holds your judgment close, making it really hard to move too far away from it, even when you know that number is completely irrelevant. And this is the part you really have to wrap your head around. The anchor doesn't have to make any sense. It doesn't have to be a helpful clue. Literally any number you're exposed to, even a ridiculously high or low one, or one you know is random, like from that Wheel of Fortune, will latch onto your brain and influence your final answer. So how does this invisible hook actually get into our brains? Well, it turns out it's not just one thing. Scientists have figured out there are actually two different ways anchoring happens, and they line up perfectly with our two systems of thinking, our fast, automatic system 1 and our slow, deliberate system 2. Okay, so the first way it works is through something called adjustment. This is a job for your conscious, hardworking system 2. You see the anchor number and you deliberately try to adjust your answer away from it. The problem is our system 2 is kind of lazy, so we tend to stop adjusting way too early. The second way is called priming, and this one is a sneaky, automatic trick of system 1. The anchor number just subconsciously brings similar ideas to mind. It's more like a suggestion that biases your thoughts before you're even aware it's happening. To understand that lazy adjustment, think about this. You're flying down the highway and you take an exit into the city. You know you have to slow down, right? But your brain is anchored to that high speed. So you brake, but you almost always end up going a little too fast for the city streets because you just didn't adjust down enough. That's your lazy system 2 in action. The priming effect is a lot more subtle. Check out this study. Researchers asked people to guess the average temperature in Germany. But first, they anchored them with a high number, like 20 degrees Celsius, which is 68 Fahrenheit. Just hearing that number automatically made people think of summer words like sun or beach. That anchor primed their minds with warm thoughts, which then pushed their final guess higher than it should have been. Okay, so this is all really fascinating psychology, but I need you to know this isn't just a lab trick. This is real life. Anchors have huge consequences, especially for your wallet. They're at play in real estate, when you donate to charity, even when you're just walking through the grocery store. You might think, well, the experts are probably immune to this. Nope, not even close. In one study, professional real estate agents were asked to assess the value of a house. The only thing they changed was the listing price they were shown beforehand. The result? A staggering 41% anchoring effect. The listing price had a massive influence on their expert judgment. And the craziest part? Afterwards, the agents swore up and down that they completely ignored it. And look at how it sways our generosity. When a charity just asked people for a donation, the average they got was $64. But if they first asked a tiny anchor question, would you be willing to give $5? The average donation plummeted to just $20. And when they used a big anchor like $400, the average donation shot up to $143. That first number you hear completely changes your idea of what a normal donation is. You've definitely seen this one. You walk into a supermarket and there's a sign on a soup display that says, limit 12 per customer. Well, that's not really about making sure there's enough to go around. It's a marketing anchor. A study found that when that limit 12 sign was up, people bought an average of 7 cans of soup. That's twice as many as they bought when there was no limit at all. The number 12 anchored their idea of how many cans they should buy. This example might be the most disturbing one of all. In a study with experienced German judges, they were asked to decide on a prison sentence for a shoplifter. But right before they did, they had to roll a pair of dice that were loading to only land on a 3 or a 9. The results are pretty chilling. The judges who rolled a 9 gave an average sentence of 8 months. The ones who rolled the 3, they only gave 5 months. A random roll of the dice literally anchored the amount of time someone spent in prison. So it's pretty clear that these anchors are absolutely everywhere and they're incredibly powerful. But we are not helpless here. The same research that shows how strong this bias is also gives us some really good strategies for how to recognize it and, more importantly, how to fight back. So what do? Well, first things first, you just have to accept that you're affected by this. I am, you are, we all are. Now, if you're in a negotiation and someone throws out a completely ridiculous number, don't even make a counteroffer. If you do, you're just accepting their crazy number as the legitimate starting point. Instead, you need to make it clear that number isn't even in the ballpark. And the most important thing you can do is force your lazy system to wake up and get to work. You do this by deliberately thinking of all the reasons their anchor is wrong. Actively search for arguments against it. Consciously think the opposite. So here's the best defense. From this moment on, just assume that any important number you see, a salary offer, the sticker price of a car, even a suggested tip on a receipt, has dropped an anchor in your mind. Just being aware that the hook is there is the single most important step you can take to start breaking free from its pull. So I'll leave you with a question to carry with you. As you go through your day, whether you're looking at a restaurant menu or scrolling through the news, just ask yourself, what number is anchoring me right now?